Wollt ihr als Soldaten und Helden empfangen werden? Latier gehört in deutsche Hand.
Set during World War I, it follows the life of an idealistic young German soldier named Paul Bäumer. After enlisting in the German army with his friends, Bäumer finds himself exposed to the realities of war, shattering his early hopes of becoming a hero as he does his best to survive. The film adds a parallel storyline not found in the book, which follows the armistice negotiations to end the war. Welcome to Black Box, a channel featuring excellent movie summaries aimed to help you save time. As a result, in this video, we will provide a detailed summary of the plot of the movie All Quiet on the Western Front, 2022. The movie begins with a German soldier named Heinrich being ordered to engage in war by his commander. After hearing the overwhelming stream of gunshots, Heinrich looks as though he has been dwarfed by the moment. Heinrich gathers up all of his strength to fight for his life. One of the German soldiers is killed right in front of him just as he is ready to climb the ladder. Heinrich agrees to let it go after being persuaded by his commander to do so, and then he joins the rest of the soldiers in their fight against the enemies. A few moments later, he runs out of bullets and is forced to fight the enemies with a shovel because he has nothing else to use. After the troops have been killed, it is seen that those who are in charge of the clearing collect their uniforms, including Heinrich's. After that, they are sterilized and then distributed to the fresh recruits. Paul Bäumer, Franz Müller, Ludwig Bem, and Albert Kropp, all of whom are 17 years old, listen attentively as their headmaster gives a very emphatic speech about how important their duties will be in serving the country in the future. They are told that the fate of their nation depends on how they vote in the next elections. They feel an overwhelming sense of pride as a result of the patriotic speech, and they can't wait to put their newfound confidence to use on the battlefield. Paul was taken aback when he received the uniforms and discovered that the name Heinrich was printed on his shirt instead of his own. When he goes back to the officer did not appear to be overly concerned about it. Paul is unaware of the fact that the uniform formerly belonged to another soldier who was killed while serving in the war. In reality, every single one of the uniforms that they are wearing at the moment was formerly worn by soldiers who were killed in a prior war. After that, Paul and his friends receive orders to report to the 78th Reserve Division. A reminder to always keep the weapons clean is given to them as they are on their way. They are going to be allocated to a location that is already quite filthy. The last thing that they want is an old rifle that's been collecting dust. They were halted by a staff surgeon who vehemently demanded that they hand over their vehicle so that it might be utilized by 40 soldiers who were in the process of dying. This occurred when they were traveling in their vehicle. After that, the lieutenant gives the command for everyone to stand up and exit the vehicle. After that, it is mandatory for every single soldier to start walking in the direction of their target. As the soldiers march on, a huge explosion causes chaos. Everyone is then ordered to wear their gas mask. Ludwig struggles to put on his mask. Upon seeing this, Paul helps him out as friend. As it turns out, the explosion is just part of the preparation. The lieutenant is not happy that Paul did not put his mask on before helping out others. The officer is certain that Paul will die early on the field. The troops finally make it to their destination. The filthy trenches and the constant shelling near La Malmaison welcome the young soldiers. Nothing could have prepared them for this. Kaczynski, a senior soldier, warns Paul that it will get worse at night. While manning their station the first night, Albert senses that there is someone nearby. They then grab their guns. Moments later, Paul is shot in the head. Luckily, his helmet saved him. They return back to their positions only to get bombarded. They are then ordered to run for safety and hide in the bunker. Ludwig is overwhelmed by the explosions and breaks down. He tells Paul that he wants to go home. As the shelling continues, their bunker starts to collapse. The lieutenant asks them to get out, but before everyone is able to, the bunker collapses. Paul is later rescued. While shocked, he is unharmed. He is then tasked to collect the dog tags of the soldiers who did not make it. While performing the assignment, Paul steps on Ludwig's glasses. He then finds out that Ludwig has been killed. Paul is devastated. 18 months later, Paul and his new friend, Kat, find themselves stealing food from a nearby farm. Kat is able to steal a goose, but not without getting caught. He manages to run away with Paul despite being shot at. They then cook the goose and share it with their comrades, Albert, Franz, and Jaden. Sensing that the war may be over soon, they contemplate what they will do once everything is back to normal. The next day, the group receives instructions to search for a missing company of 60 new recruits as their assignment. They subsequently learn that everyone has been murdered by the gas since they removed their masks too quickly before entering the room. Major Brixdorf reports to General Friedrichs that the French are increasing the pressure. They are sending their entire division to Ladière. The general is aware that the German Minister of Finance is sending a delegation headed by Matthias Erzberger to work out terms for a possible truce with France. However, the general expresses his desire to continue fighting. It's evident that he prefers a more aggressive style and demands the military continue to fight. He is not willing to give in yet. The delegation is given 72 hours to review and agree to the terms stipulated by the French general. This gives enough time for the German soldiers to give their all. Paul's team is ordered to advance to the front. They then proceed to the battlefield and utilize the trenches for safety. The battle turns into brutal hand-to-hand combat. As the team progresses and captures the camp, they take advantage of the moment and pig out with the food that's left behind. Moments later, the French counterattack team arrives with tanks. Their rifles and machine guns have not to match the sophisticated weaponry of the French. This allows the French to advance their position, but not for long. The German soldiers are able to spot the vulnerabilities of the tanks and exploit them, just when the Germans are about to level the playing field. French soldiers using flamethrowers come into the picture. The Germans attempt to retreat, but the French force is too much for them at this point. Albert begs to spare his life as he kneels down, ready to surrender. Despite his plea, Albert is killed. Paul, who barely survived a blast earlier, is stunned to see his friend get executed. The German soldiers are ordered to take what they can and continue to retreat. Paul is distraught about having to witness a friend getting killed and losing sight of Franz. As an aerial attack also ensues, Paul ends up in a puddle. A wounded French soldier falls near him. Paul immediately stabs the man, but the French national does not die right away. Paul can feel his pain as he slowly loses consciousness. Paul even entertains the idea of reviving him, but the French soldier eventually dies. While Matthias Erzberger is polishing his shoes, he hears some positive news. After much resistance from the French, Field Marshal Paul von Hindenburg finally agreed to their terms and announced that the armistice would go into effect on November 11th at 11 o'clock in the morning. The worn-out soldiers were overjoyed to hear the news of the impending ceasefire. In the meantime, General Friedrichs is not overly enthusiastic about the new turn of events. He gives the order for the new recruits to report to him, but he doesn't tell anyone else what his plan is going to be. Paul looks for his friends amidst the chaos. He eventually finds Jaden at a field hospital, having been shot in the leg. His leg requires amputation, by the look of it. Jaden is anxious about the idea of being crippled. Finding a job will be much more challenging, if not impossible. Paul gives him all the encouragement that he needs. Kat and Paul are reunited. Paul tells Kat about Jaden's condition. They agree to bring their wounded friend some food. While they are enjoying the food, Jaden stabs himself in the neck using the fork given to him. The idea of being crippled was just too much for him to handle. The following day, while sharing what they will be doing once they reach home, Paul and Kat proceed to the farm one last time to steal some eggs. Paul is caught by one of the farmer's children and is locked out. The child goes to his father, who is now holding a gun and ready to shoot. Paul manages to free himself and is being chased by the farmer. He warns Kat to run as the farmer fires at them. They manage to escape. As the two are getting away, the farmer's son stares at them intensely. Kat is not aware that the farmer's son is pursuing him. The child is carrying a shotgun as he catches up to Kat. He then pulls the trigger. Paul is stunned as he hears the gunshot. He goes to check on Kat as he falls to the ground. He's been hit in the abdomen, and it's bad. Paul wants to take Kat to the hospital. 2 trucks full of soldiers pass by them. The idea that the war is finally over is so euphoric for the German soldiers that they totally ignore Paul and Kat. Paul is successful in making it to the hospital. It turns out that the bullet hits him in the liver, which then causes the poison to spread throughout the rest of his body. He makes his way over to Kat, only to find that his friend is already dead. All the remaining soldiers are ordered to report directly to General Friedrichs, who is fuming at the truce that has been recently signed. The effectivity of the agreement is at 11 in the morning. He has other plans in mind. The soldiers anticipate that the speech will be about the war being over. The now extremely exhausted soldiers are distraught when the general orders them to utilize the remaining 15 minutes to fight against the French forces. Some soldiers refuse to follow the order, as they just want to go home and be with their families. They are immediately arrested. The movie ends with Paul, now fearless and broken, going back to the field and killing as many French soldiers as he can. While he is fighting one French soldier, he tackles him as the enemy gets a hold of a gun. The two fall underground. As Paul is ready to engage in hand-to-hand combat, he misses another French soldier just right behind him. Paul is then bayoneted through the heart just a few seconds before the end of the war. And the movie ends. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.